my first premise is I'm an estimator. I received a set of plans and a request to bid a project. So in order to do that, I would begin here underneath estimating and I would click on my projects tab. And I'm going to start a new project. The benefits of using the wizard are, if I have ever done work like this before, where whether it was last week, last month, or 10 or 15 years ago, I can go out and browse through using the wizard and find a job that is identical or at least similar enough so that I can copy that job over. And that will be a great time saver for me as I move forward. In this instance this morning, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to merely click on next. If the job was done through specification, I could choose a bid lead. That's irrelevant to me right now. The next thing I'm presented with during the wizard is a list of all the favorite customers that I like to do business with and who am I bidding this morning. So I'm going to pick one of my favorites, Kansas Construction, and I'm going to click on next. Now I have a list of all the various sections in this project which I may entertain quoting on. If I've glanced through this bid package and I can see that in there, wow, we're going to do that, but I'm going to do toilet partitions or toilet compartments or whatever, I would maybe isolate that as a reminder. I want to be clear that there are definitely sections and the ability to add sections in here that may not necessarily have supported brands or supported categories within CommSense, but that doesn't preclude me from being able to estimate that section of material outside of our software and yet be able to bring in the dollar value from that estimating outside of our software into the system so that as I bid it, I'm going to have an opportunity to look at what Oki or Construction Hardware can quote as a package, okay? So for sure, I know this morning that I'm going to be quoting door hardware, hollow metal doors and frames, and wood doors. And I have the opportunity to state when those bids are due. So I'm going to say, you know, that bid is not due until, say, the 27th of January, and all sections of that bid are due on the same date and same time. But I could get differentials if I was segregating the estimating of this to other folks in the company. Now I click on next, and now I'm presented to give this project a name. So just because it's easier for me to say, you're not going to be offended if I just keep using the word Oki, are you?
Not at all.
Okay. I'm going to call this the Oki Advantage Building. And I can give it an address. And, you know, it might be in, let's just call it Philadelphia, just for a better state, PA, a zip code of sorts, and a country. So now I have, this is the project I'm bidding. It's called the Oki Advantage Building, and I save and close that. Continuing on through this customer master, you know, if I had an architect firm that I normally deal with, you're able to maintain a list of architects, and I can go and open up a list of architects and see who all the architects are, and I could grab an architect if I wanted to, you know, through a database of architects that I would have built within our system, and I could have grabbed that architect. I don't have a building owner that I need to reference that right now. Who's the estimator? Well, it's Todd. Who's the inside salesperson? You know, it also may be Todd. Who's the outside salesperson? I could identify that if I choose to or not. The next field down here, project type. This is a user definable field. These are categories that I have created within this project type, benefiting me down the road. So as a department manager and a member of the company, when you look at your estimating department, do you have a means of analyzing the bidding efforts of the folks in that department to say, wow, you know, in this period of time, we've quoted this many projects of this flavor, you know, be it hospital, school, multifamily, whatever that might be, and here's our success ratio. Are you doing any kind of that analysis today?
No, and I don't foresee us doing it, but you never know.
Well, again, baked in feature into the software. Some companies, you know, they want extremely tight bid follow-up. They want granular records of why they lost a job. You know, did we not have enough people and or whatever? in order to achieve that, you would have to establish that, hey, this is a hotel or whatever, so you would build that in there. What territory am I quoting this project in? What division of Oki am I quoting this out of? We can obviously support multiple divisions. Who is the hardware specification writer? Does the architect have a code or a cross-reference number on their plans or blueprints that you might want to cross-reference? I mean, are we bidding out of the Dodge report, and what is the code off the Dodge report that I might want to cross-reference, which sometimes associated with Dodge, they give you an overall building cost. This other field here, rating, again, totally optional field, but if indeed the manager of the estimators is the first person to put eyes on the project when it comes in the building, that manager may look at the job and go, wow, all the bidders list as I know it right now consists of folks that are very, very loyal to Oki. And more importantly, the brands of the products that are specified on there are our favorite brands, so I really feel we have a good competitive advantage. And in saying that, I think we stand a really good chance of getting this work when we bid it. And based on that, I'm going to rate it an A or a 1 or whatever grading system you may want to assign to it, as opposed to the B's or the 2s or the C's or the 3s. When you do that, the system now allows you to keep that in a hopper. And as an estimator, a worker bee estimator, I now come to that list and I can grab it and bring it over because I could filter it by a rating and bring it over. Okay. I honestly have always talked about this. Don't know how much it's used out there, but in the right size company and in terms of communicating, you might want to do that. Okay. Any notes relative to the project can be typed down here. Because we are deployed in one of two fashions, either an on-premises solution whereby it's installed on your file server and then you have a fat client on the individual workstations, you can communicate internally that way, or ComSense also has an opportunity for us to host the application for you, and you would do that. Either way, you are going to get this field here called Show Related Documents, which creates a path right underneath estimating specific to this project of an electronic filing cabinet or holding area. So I don't have to, in this day and age, obviously everything can be scanned or electronically communicated. This becomes the repository for everything relative to this project in that folder. The system knows the start date of the project. If I wanted to reference which date my plans were, these plans that I'm dealing with were dated October the 5th from last year. At the time I'm starting this project, are there any addenda? This is a great check for me to think about addenda. I did check, there weren't any. I like to type the word in none. Following down this list here on the right-hand side, as I said earlier, there are multiple ways to get the completion of an estimate. In this instance, this morning, I'm going to be showing you an opening by opening basis, okay? It's just going to show more of the software, and it's going to help alleviate some questions and concerns on the detailing side down the road in a demo. But for our purposes, there are also ultimate other ways to do estimates as well. Your best customer may call you back at the 11th hour, and even though you get 90% of their work, they said, hey, Craig, I need you to throw together a price for me. You may need to choose a bulk estimate because you just want to get some numbers out in front of them. I'll also speak to that in a couple of minutes where you would see how a bulk estimate would differ from what we're doing. The other question I have for you is today, are you installing with your own personnel, not via subcontract, any of the work that you bidding?
Yes and no. My branch, no. The other branches, yes.
And they do that with Oki personnel, correct? They're not doing a subcontract. They physically have employees that will either pre-install the hardware on the doors or frames in your building, or worst case scenario is go to the job site and install the hardware and the doors and frames in the openings and hang the doors and put the hardware out the
Correct.
doors on the, yeah. Okay, so for that purpose, I'm going to click the word install and include hardware installation because we do have a baked in installation module and you'll get to see the benefit of that here. All right. Okay. So saving and
question.
Close. Yeah, anytime. Just please always interrupt me with any questions, okay?
Out of everything I've seen thus far,
yes.
what is is necessary and not necessary? Because I know a lot of people in our company would only put in the project name and that's it.
Yep. And if that's all you want to do, that's all you want to do. If I was running the department, I would definitely want to know who I am as an estimator. So I would, all right. So moving off of that, now we come down the list. This is where some poetic license can come into play. If I'm an estimator and I'm well-rounded and I estimate doors, frames, and hardware, Todd this morning is going to show you that being an old school hardware person, my favorite preference is to come down the list and start in hardware. I don't want to cloud your opinion or your thoughts that, hey, but what if our guys like to start doing frames? If I did, I could easily, Craig, start here and doing frames, but I'm just going to elect to start in hardware. So again, the methods that I'm doing that or the sequences are not fixed. Don't think because of the sequence I'm showing you, our guys never want to start in hardware, Todd. You can start in other places. Okay, I just want to be clear on that.
Understood.
So when I'm in here, I'm going to do the let's pretend. I've got a spec book in front of me, whether it was emailed to me or sent to me or carrier pigeoned over to me, I've got it. And looking through that spec book with all the hardware sets, you know, there's about 40 of them, let's pretend. I can see that whoever the hardware spec writer was has written this project with the principal product being the Allegion brand, Schlage locks, and in looking at the finishes, I can see the finishes are brushed chrome. I know there's a lot of hardware sets, and I want to try maybe using some time savers so I don't have to answer so many questions all the time. I'm going to click on my default finishes tab. And in doing that, I'm going to touch a category L for lock sets. ComSense assigns catalog categories to all of our supported products within all of the 123 or so manufacturers that we support between Canada and the United States. So I've touched the category L. In doing that, when I move over to the next manufacturer code column, the system is going to look out, hey, in Todd's demo system or in Oki's system down the road, what manufacturers do I subscribe to? So it now shows a list for me. I touch the letter S and I can highlight Schlage. Now, when I come to this finish code field, again, this is an umbrella of defaults for this project. The system is showing me what Schlage uses as a finish code in their default finishes column, okay? So in other words, if Schlage used US 26D or 26D or 626, the system is going to tell me that here, because if I was to try and put US 26D in against Schlage, that's not going to be a good thing. I need it to be 626. So Craig, I've always viewed this as a great educational tool for a newer user and an awesome reminder tool for us veteran users.
That's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
So the other thing would be in the default options. So I can also see that LCN closers are used today, and I want to use through bolts, whether it's specified or it's a personal preference. I want to use through bolts and machine screws. So this list is now a short filtered list to LCN. I want to use through bolts and machine screws, and I'm going to go select and return. And I could do the same thing for other products, just like when I was under default finishes. I could have all the various categories and have my umbrella or my parameters for this project established at the start of the project.
Question. Okay, understood. I love the defaults. Is it intuitive enough to know that if I was to pick a keying default for a lock, is it intuitive enough to know that it's not a keyed lock and therefore not at it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, and I always intend, I will be showing you that here as well in a moment. So if I pick so now I'm going to start building my hardware set. So I have hardware set number 1. This description field is optional. I'm a big fan of it. So I'm going to utilize it. And I'm going to validate and justify why I like using it. I'm going to say this is an interior office locking. My typical size, I've looked through the door schedule. Most of all the doors on this project are 3070, so I'm going to say that's my typical size. My opening type, I have a drop-down list. You know, I'm going to just do the KISS principle, and we're going to do singles this morning. But if I did indeed, Craig, have pair both active or active and inactive or double egress, I could identify that. Again, the intuitiveness of the software is if I had a pair active and inactive, and I only had one door closer, It knows to put the door closer on the active leaf. It knows to put the lock set on the active leaf. If it is a pair of doors, it would also know to put the flush bolts on the inactive leaf, et cetera, et cetera. So the system is smart and helps you out in that regard. But I do want to
Will it
state,
populate quantities, like silence quantities, hinge quantities, so on and so forth?
yep, it's going to do that right away.
Okay.
So the other thing is, so I'm going to come back and circle back to the concept that I talked to you about bulk estimating. Right now, I'm not, in an opening by opening estimate, I am not required to put the number of openings for this hardware set into here. But I would if I was doing a bulk estimate. In a bulk estimate world, the onus is on me as the estimator to count up how many hardware sets are in use on this project. And when I count that there are 17 of them, it's incumbent upon me to put the 17 in here, okay?
Yep.
And also, I could relate those 17 opening numbers in here for future reference as well. But again, I'm not, in our world, what we're going to do this morning is we're going to take, when we do our door takeoff, we're going to assign the appropriate correct hardware set to the opening number, and the system will then tally the total number of openings based on how we've assigned it. That's the characteristic difference here, okay? So in doing that, I'm now ready to start putting product in here. So I'm going to put in a BB1279. If I could type, I would, and press enter. The system now and immediately returns for me 28 products from the family of Hager that have the words BB and 1279 in the string of the catalog number. The product I want may be this 4.5 by 4. I may be new to the industry and I have no clue what that product looks like. So I right click with my mouse and I'm immediately sent to an image that our image department has cross-referenced to this product. So I get a hero shot of what that product looks like. And the second image available for this product is a bit of a fact sheet saying that, hey, it's a BB1279, it's steel with steel, et cetera, et cetera. So this is ComSense's images feature. We have a staff of people that manage and update on an as-changed basis these images. They are cross-referenced to the specific product. We are not forcing you to browse out to a web page or grab them from there. This is baked into our software and is updated on a very regular basis, depending on what the manufacturer has told us. If they have, a new image, we update it, and if they don't tell us anything, it's just whatever's been in the system for 20 years. Okay. So I now want to go select and return. I have a worksheet here. If I needed an option for this product, I'm going to click on this field and it is going to display for me all of the Hager options for their hinges. Okay. Now I want to start looking through this list of 73 for a product, and I'm going to go NRP. So the system will do dynamic filtering and find me NRP that way. If I knew I wanted an electrified product, I could type in the word electric here and it would find that. If I knew I wanted a monitor, it's one of the words in the description, I could just start typing the word monitor. So now
what's
I'm down.
The hyperlink? Is that showing a catalog cut or what it is versus?
Yep, you're one step ahead of me, but absolutely. So this is an ETM10. So if I can see it's going on a stainless-based hinge, it's going to add this to the list price. If it's going on a steel or brass, it's that. But again, just as you stated, if I want to learn a little bit more about that option, that's right there for me.
I'm with you.
Anyways, I'm going to come out of here, so I'm not picking any of those options, and I'm going to say okay to that. So to answer a previous question, once I bring that product forward into here, it had taken a very quick look at my typical size, and since I was less than 7'6", it has made those hinges a 3. If I was 7'6" or greater, it will make that a 4, but Craig, it'll also allow me to change that 3 to a 2 because I could be putting an electrified hinge on this line, okay? Next, I want an ND53PD. I press enter. I've got 10 designs from our friends at Schlage about that product. The one I see written down is this word RHO. I'm new to the industry, have no clue what that is, means, looks like, or stands for. I right click with my mouse. I get a whole bunch of cross-reference images. I come down to this one and I see that RHO means roads. Here's what it looks like. Here's how far it protrudes from the door. Here's an exploded view of what that product would normally look like. Here are all the strikes furnished by LCN for them. here's what the 53 function does, and the stuff I used to forget back in the day, what all the Allegiant or Schlage suffixes are. You know, I get all of that at my fingertips. So, you know, again, what we're trying to do here is give a tool to the user right now, be it a veteran or a new user, that at their fingertips, they can get their questions answers without having to browse out to a net or do whatever. Okay, so right or wrong, they're there in the way that they display. Time, okay, so that is the product I indeed want. I go select and return. So now I have my little worksheet. It did indeed validate that that 626 finish is available for this product, so it's allowed me to move forward. So now I have this icon here for options for this product. So this obviously is a keyed function. So I'm going to see all the options, latches, keyways, et cetera, for this product in our list. I don't want any this morning, so I'm just going to say no, and I'm going to say okay. So that product's now in my hardware set. Next, I want a 4040 XP door closer. I press enter on that. That 4040 XP door closer, I might want it with either a regular or a parallel arm. And as I look through the plans, I can see that some of the doors have light kits in it. And I'm just wondering, when I install that thing, parallel arm, I wonder how far it drops down onto the door if I do have a light kit. Well, the beautiful feature of our software allows me to quickly right-click here, do the image for a parallel arm, and see that, okay, on a slab door, it's dropping down 5 3/8 inches, I'll be fine. But over here, on a door with a light kit in it, wow, I'm going to have an issue. I wonder why they didn't specify a 4040 XP. I'm thinking extra, or darn it, I'm doing the specifying. I better make sure I put one of those in.
Got it.
Okay. So again, just another enhancement to why I think there's a ton of value of ComSense maintaining and updating and cross-referencing these images to the product. Okay. Absolutely. So let me build this first set. Let me finish this. So I want a 190S door closer here. It finds me all my 190Ss. I know it's going to be between 8 and 24 inches tall, and I'm validating that it's 050 gauge. Perfect. So I go select and return. There's all my Hager finishes. I want 32D. The software knows that product is sold per 100 square inches, and therefore is going to prompt me for a height and a width. So I'm going to put in the number 8. It will automatically put inches. 34.5 put inches. Now when I say okay to that, it comes into my set. And the next thing I want is a 232W wall stop. I press enter. Yes, that's the wall stop. I want it in 26D. I say okay, and I say okay, and voila, I've built my product, okay? Now I want to build your question. I want to build set 2. I come up here, I just click on the 1, I make it a 2. I didn't have to save or do anything. I now change my description to say interior office passage. But as you've alluded, and it's also going on 3070 doors, but as you've alluded to, my time saver now is this icon, and I can see the list of the product I've already built. So I want, with my mouse, click that hinge, that closer, that kick plate, that wall stop, and when I say okay to that, boom, those products are now in my second set. Okay, so we'll just leave that in there because we'll pretend we're crazy, but so now if you look and examine with me between my hinge and my closer, I have no latching device, right? Because I didn't copy the lock set over because I'm on a passage function. Light bar's down here at the bottom. So I now know I want an ND10S, and because I'm smarter than I was a few minutes ago, I know my designs now RHO for Rhodes. I press enter. The system finds my Rhodes product. I go select and return. When I talked earlier about our catalog people being smart, it's because if you look in our option group, which I displayed for you for the lock sets, for our passage sets here, I have no keying functions in here, okay? It doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to configure an ill-configurable product, but I am limited now because we're not showing the keying functions. We identify every single supported product, if we know it, whether it's keyed or not keyed. So if I had a default option to do Grandmaster keying, just so that I don't have to pick that default option every time, the system will know Grandmaster keying is applicable only to keyed functions, and that will put that option on all the keyed functions automatically. Okay, so I don't want any options here. I'm going to go cancel. remembering where my light bar was, I say, okay. The software knows the DHI hang order of the door. It
Yep,
inserted that
yep,
passage set where it belongs between the hinge and the closer. Okay.
yep.
So the last thing I want to show you is I built my 2 sets. I'm assuming based on the level of questions here, there must be situations whereby your personnel actually write and specify hardware for your customers, correct?
It happens, not a lot, but yes.
Wow. I would have expected that. Oh yeah, all the time. um,
Yeah.
let's pretend that scenario arises, that I am now writing a hardware. I'm putting hardware on a design build job or something like that, and I'm new to Oki, and I have a complicated opening. So I'm at the water cooler in the kitchen, scratching my head, and somebody comes to me and says, "What's the deal?" And they go, "You know what? I have this employee entrance I've got to do. It's an electrified opening. It's an entrance to the building, and I've really never done one of these before." And they go, "That's okay. At Oki, we had this guy that used to work here by the name of Milt. He did a job quite some time ago called Technology Park. He designed an opening, and it's a great configuration." And you go, "Thank you," and you scurry out of the office right back to your desk. And they didn't give you that much information other than the name of the job and Milt. So I need to go up. I'm now that person back at my desk. I come into here. I open up any project, whether it's an estimating job or a detailing job. In this case, it's a detailed job. And I say, okay, there's the 729 projects in the system. But I can start typing in what that person at the water cooler told me. They said it was Technology Park. The guy who did it was Milt, and lo and behold, it filters down and finds me that job, which was done on September the 12th of 2005, some almost 16 years ago. I say okay to that, and those 44 hardware sets from Milt's job are presenting themselves to me now. I did not have to go, Craig, into the dusty warehouse and hope and pray that it was filed in the filing cabinet where it should have been, okay?
This is awesome.
So now, all of a sudden, I've got 44 hardware sets from that job. But Milt, but I have no clue which one he did the employee entrance for, other than my buddy Milt, like me, liked putting his set descriptions in. So now I could come in here and go, oh my goodness. I start typing the word employee, and lo and behold, it finds set 7. Thank you, Milt. But if Milt didn't do that, and these were blank, which they could be, I'm thinking, well, okay, it's an employee, it's electrified. I wonder if they had a power supply. So I could start typing in the word power, and lo and behold, it would find set 7 that way. Or, man, that Milt guy, he never came to work one day without wearing a Securitron golf shirt. So he always loves Securitron. I could put in BPS because that's Securitron nomenclature. The lesson here is no matter what way I wanted to get at it, I was able to hone in and find that product. Now all I have to do right from here is I just highlight the number 7 and I say okay, and the software immediately starts copying all that product from that job, 16 years ago into my job I'm working on today. Well, what's the first thing it finds? It was 16 years ago. It said it has detected some inactive product. Short code A01, the Sargent rim cylinder is now inactive. Do I still want to bring it over? I can have a choice. I'm going to say, yes, I do. Continues down the list. Lo and behold, it finds my unilateral door closer from Norton discontinued. Do I want to bring it over? Yes, I do. And the lesson here is from that job 16 years ago, without me leaving my desk, I have copied over a hardware set into this job I'm doing today. We'll stick on that. So some would say, well, why are you bringing in old deactivated product? I go, great question. I could have elected to say no to that. And the problem is when I said no to that, my telephone rang. I had built the set. It was up on the screen just like it is now. I got, I finished set 3. Okay, great. I'm going to go do set 4. And guess what I forgot? I forgot to put a rim cylinder and a door closer in. Okay, so I didn't bring them over. We bid the job, and then when somebody goes through and checks it, they go, oh shit, well, no wonder we got the job. We have $6,000 of crap missing in this job, right? So I bring it over. My personal Todd philosophy is I'm bringing this over as a placeholder, but I'm going to come into here right away, and I'm going to come to this rim cylinder from Sargent. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to choose to replace that product. Do you want to replace it everywhere in the job or just in this set? I want to replace it everywhere it occurs. What do I want to replace it with? I want to replace it with the 20-001. I press enter. and it finds me all the Schlage 20001s. What length do I want? I want it to be 1 1/8. Fantastic. What finish do I want? I want 626. Fantastic. What do I want for any options? I may want it in an a C keyway. Great. I go select and return, say okay, and that quickly I've updated and replaced it with a current product. Okay.
And I'm
So now I would safely, let me finish my thought process on the Unitor door closer. The other scenario that could occur is Norton may have just sent you a bulletin last Friday, the 8th of January, that effective immediately, we are discontinuing Unitrol 7702 door closers. And you go, well, crap, it's been our favorite door closer. We've got 500 of them in our warehouse here. You might want it to stay with that nomenclature and flow through the job, because until you fulfill it, you're not going to you need to have the proper nomenclature coming through on all the picking slips and the requisitions and whatever, or, down the road. So I may choose to leave it. So any of those scenarios can exist. Again, it's a crazy business we live in. All right. That is it for me for hardware. Are any other questions about hardware? I don't think I've quite had ever so many questions, and I think it's fantastic. So
I was just going to apologize for.
Don't apologize, buddy. All this is going to mean for us is just getting through our time slots and everything. We're just going to be going a lot more deeper into here, but I wish, in all honesty, that everybody was paid this much attention. A, it shows me that you care and you're focused, and B, it allows us to exercise some questions about the software, and instead of making assumptions, we're trying to get real things answered because you have a good list and a good understanding of your people. So